Sausage.
Hello, and welcome to Hack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Krishnaz, tries to make a dent in their backlog. That's me. One game at a time. This episode is episode 2 in my playthrough of System Shock, specifically the 2023 remake, which I am playing on Xbox Series X. Like last episode and in future episodes, future games, I do want to try and give some kind of idea window of where I've played, where I've left off, so that if you'd like to play along, if you want to treat this like a game club, now you can. And last episode, I only played through the medical area, and that took me roughly 4 hours. I was pretty sure I was taking my sweet ass time. We also have to factor in that I spent probably a solid hour just going around the facility after I killed everything, picking up junk, taking it to the recycling station, before I learned about the ability to vaporize things, which made things a lot easier and simpler then, and especially now, because this episode will be covering both research and reactor, though I'm pretty sure, spoilers-ish, that there are things in the reactor area I can't do yet, so I'm heading to maintenance, and that will be the next episode and potentially some other areas, I'm not sure. But this is just research completed. I'm pretty sure there's nothing I left off or missed on research, and the majority of reactor. So if you'd like to play along again, that is what this specific episode will be covering. So let us begin. First and foremost, as I alluded to in the intro, I don't know if it's that I've gotten faster, if the areas are smaller, if I'm just more proficient, if I'm more familiar with the game and the way it all works, but I managed to get through both research and reactor in around 5-ish hours. So it took me less time in research. That was a good 2 hours. So that was about half the time I spent in medical, which made me feel really bad about medical. And if you judge me in that first episode for being so slow, I judge myself too. But I have gotten through the game a bit faster, though I do have to remember I did spend a good amount of time recycling stuff in the medical section when I didn't have to. And I haven't been doing that now. I've been vaporizing pretty much everything unless I pick up a broken weapon and I'm close to the recycling station, because that's the nice thing about reactor. The research level does not have a surgery station, which is those stations where you can plop yourself in and heal up completely, and then the game will autosave as well. There's nothing of that sort on research, and I don't even think there was a recycling station, which makes sense if you think about what it is. It's the research level. Do they need those things? Probably not. Obviously, they're going to be on the medical level, but I was concerned that there weren't going to be any on any other levels, and it was just going to be on medical, because I've made it a crux to go back there as often as possible and not waste any healing items, which I'm still doing, because I am that kind of person who doesn't like to use their things if they don't have to, so that I have them all when I need them at the end, and then the end gets there and I still didn't use them or don't use them, and then I see the end credits and I think to myself, well, why did I even collect all that shit? I wasn't using it. I never used it. It probably would have been an easier experience had I used it. But I've used them a few times now. I've used a few healing items, one radiation healing item. So I'm not fully awful in the save scumming and that kind of stuff, but I'm kind of there. But I love that in the reactor level, you have very easy access and everything is so close together to a surgery station, an energy station, power station, that's what they're called, to replenish your energy, a recycling station, and radiation treatment. So you can easily get to that area from any part of reactor, which is somewhat labyrinthian. There are parts of it that are very level based, and there's a part that I can't get to, and I'm curious how I'm going to get there. If there's something I might obtain on maintenance, because there's one place that clearly I need to power down in order to get there, but there's some place that there's more on the map, and I can't find a way to get there any other way than just this one specific way, and I'm curious. And that's really what's pushing me forward, because the combat variety hasn't really increased. There have been more enemies. There are these Roomba-like devices that when they spot you will come after you very quickly, and if you don't kill them before they reach you, they'll explode. There are larger mech drones, people, mutants. I'm not sure about the terminology for all these things, but there's some big heavies that are very furious. Not so fast, but they are furious. There are these beholder-like, to reference Dungeons and Dragons. It's the one thing I always think about with Dungeons and Dragons. But these one beholder-like, fleshy, floating orb things just without eyeballs that I believe when they get close to you will explode into radiation poisoning. And those freaked me out the first time I saw them. There have been some good freak out moments where I turn a corner and there's something right there. And that's fun, but it's still the same old basic shooting guns, shooting weapons, enemies that shoot you with various weapons of increasing power, but nothing too crazy yet. And I'm kind of feeling like what I've experienced now is what the game is going to have to offer, and the thing pulling me forward, keeping me engaged and invested in this game is the story, the characters. Even though the characters are mostly, if not entirely, all dead, I thought that in medical someone contacted me who was alive, but I can't remember that specifically. But a lot of it is gained through the voice recordings and notes you find throughout all of these areas. I like it whenever Shodan pops up. Whenever I get a security level fairly low, or I get into an area that's got a lot of security bots or security machines that I destroy to bring down the security level of an area, and then she chimes in saying, you're not gonna mess with me, buddy. I'm gonna send some robots or mutants or something after you. I always tense up because Shodan is scary. AI is scary. And this game does a good job with that. I wish there was a bit more gray area in it, though, that some of the robots or something was more in that, are they good? Are they bad? Are they tainted, etc.? Like Soma. I really started to think about Soma while playing through it this second week, because I love Soma, and Soma has some similarities story-wise to this, just in the way it's dealing with AI and technology, kind of. But that's a great game, and it's hard to compare something to one of the greatest games of the last decade of this century, which is where I would put Soma. I think Soma's incredible. But System Shock is fantastic, and I am continuing to love it. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm going to start opening up to using my items and weapons, because I've obtained quite a lot. I think for my base pistol, which I've modded twice now, I've accumulated 400-ish regular rounds, and then 120 or 50 something coated rounds, and then I found a shotgun, which I look at the shotgun and I think, man, this is going to be so cool to use, and I'm never going to use it. So hopefully I won't actually be that way, and I will use it because it's a shotgun. How can I not use a shotgun? And I've got maybe 40 rounds for that now as well, including a full clip of it. But it is continuing to be just a fantastic experience because I love being in this world and learning more about it, getting more of the lore, and trying to figure out what's going on or how things are going to play out. Because I think I have a grasp on what's going on. One of the best parts of, or the best bits of lore I've received, obtained, found in the world so far is a note called Always Amaze, which really opened up my mind to what the purpose of Citadel Station was, I think still is, which is basically a giant experiment to test things on humans to see how they deal with stress and anxiety. And the way the game has played out before getting that note, and now everything I'm doing, I'm thinking about that note. This makes such perfect sense in how everything is playing out. Of course, what you're doing to me right now, how everything is working, yeah, this is a good experiment. It's not ethical, but it's a good experiment. One of the things, though, to throw in a negative, Cyberspace has gotten a bit frustrating, mainly because it's structured the same every time. A lot like what we think of the more traditional rogue games where you're going room to room to room, and when you enter a room, all the doors are locked off until you kill all the enemies, and there'll be multiple waves of enemies. So that is what you're doing in Cyberspace. What makes it so frustrating is that it is a completely three-dimensional space. So enemies can spawn in from behind you, on the side of you, above you, below you. They can spawn in from anywhere. And when you are first going through a section of Cyberspace that you're unfamiliar with, you can end up in a position where enemies spawn all over you and you get overwhelmed immediately, get killed, thrown out, and have to go back in and start from the beginning. And that can just be a bit frustrating, as one would expect. Thankfully, I would say on average, each level has only 2 cyberspace parts. So it's not something you're doing a lot. And once you complete a cyberspace station, you're done. You don't have to go in there again. But it has become somewhat frustrating. It's not something I enjoy or look forward to. The puzzles are still offering a nice, solid, fun challenge, though there are times where I accidentally stumble my way into the solution within seconds, and that is only a bummer because I don't feel like I solved it. I just tripped my way into the solution. I also have these devices that will allow me to automatically solve the puzzles that I haven't used yet. I think I've collected 3 so far. And that's going to be another thing that I end up never using because I want to save them for the really, really hard ones at the end. And then I'm going to reach the end and realize, oh, there are no more puzzles. I never used these. Great. Go me. But I'm loving exploring this world. It's making me realize that, and it reminds me somewhat of the Etrian Odyssey games or games of that nature. I really like mapping out an area, even though I'm not doing that here, like with Etrian Odyssey games. I like going into an area blind and learning it. And it makes me think about a lot of the criticisms for Starfield where you didn't have a mini map. And I guess I can still see that, because if I didn't have a mini map, maybe I would have been a little frustrated, but at the same time, I'm not really using it when I think about it. I sometimes pull out the large map to see where exactly I'm going, and you could still see where you are on the mini map and then walk while it's open. So if that was at least in Starfield, I don't know how it worked in Starfield pre all the updates. But I like that. I like learning an environment and a space. It's fun because it is its own rewarding thing. But I am just excited to discover more about the game. And when I decided to say, hey, this episode is just going to be reactor and research, and I got to the end of what I could do on the reactor level for now, I was disappointed because I just want to keep playing, but I had to record this episode. So that is where I am. I am trying to think if there are any other things that stood out, but I don't think so. So yeah, that is going to do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Again, if you want to play, there's no point in telling you, again, if you want to play along, these are the things I talked about, because if you've listened to the whole episode, I haven't even really spoiled anything, because I don't, a lot of what there is to spoil really is the lore and that kind of stuff, and that's not as fun to talk about just yet. I'm gonna zip it because I feel like this is the good end point. So yeah, once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. That is where you get access to a monthly Q&A, exclusive Discord roles, fancy schmancy Cool Kids Club. Cool Kids Club. Whatever I said before that I think it sounded a little bit like, you won't be getting any of that here, all right? All right. Cool Kids Club. As well as YouTube approved user status and other goodies as well. If any of that sounds good to you, or you just want to support me, that is again patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye. It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy.